If you're an owner of a trucking company and you don't know how to educate your recruiting team, you are at the right place. This video will show you how the lead processing works, what are the biggest pitfalls in recruiting department that you can send to your recruiting team. Make these changes and it will help your not only retention but also closing the drivers really efficiently. Hi, my name is Samir. I recruit more than 1,000 drivers. I spend more than $3 million for me and for my client generating Facebook and Instagram leads on social media or on Meta, how they say right now. Received more than 1 million views organically for my clients and myself. So now let's dive into it, how the recruiting process works for a trucking industry, what pitfalls you should be aware, and definitely to send this to your team, or if you have a manager of your recruiting team, he needs to set up these standards so you will increase the likelihood of drivers coming to your company, not lose them in the process, and of course, stay in your company. As all of us know, everything starts with an ad. So we have an ad here that will generate us the lead. The most important thing about the lead is that first touch, how your company is basically presentable in the eyes of a driver. So if you reach out to them in the first 5 minutes, that's always the best thing. The whole goal is to not reach them after a year, after a day, after an hour. If you have a dedicated recruiting team, they need to put the whole focus on the new leads. So new leads needs to be a priority and ideally will be 5 minutes, even in first minute. So if your recruiter come to a work, they have 20-30 leads from last night. If they start calling the leads that applied last night, if they got a new lead, they need to call that lead right away. Why? Because the drivers are driving on the road, they see multiple ad offers. As you know, trucking right now is a really competitive industry regarding the leads and regarding the space that we take on Meta. So if you see every other ad, you click, after an hour you forgot about the message, about the name of the company. Usually what happens with the leads that you call in an hour or 2 hours, they don't pick up, you send them a text messages, they don't know about your offer, then you need to upsell them again all over and over. So in that place, your marketing just doesn't work. You're becoming a salesman and that's really harder to do. He forgot everything about your offer, then you send him an offer and he just never replies. Why? Because you present yourself as somebody who is lower status. So the most profitable and most professional thing is for you to reply after 5 minutes of lead arrival. Of course, if you don't have somebody who is working on a weekend, I strongly suggest for you to have somebody who will work on a weekend, because as everybody knows, on the Monday, recruiters having like 70-80% more leads than usual. Why? Because on the weekends, people have more time to Google and search for jobs. On that sense, they have more time to spend on social media because they work less, they apply for multiple jobs. So whoever comes on Monday, they have like 70-80 leads. The quality of processing the leads will be really bad, and then you will not be able to follow up with all the leads. But if you have a person that works on weekends, then there is more likelihood, 20-30%, that the drivers will answer the phone. You can process them, apply them, and then basically on Monday, they will already be in your process, so all the other guys lose the battle. So make sure that if you have capabilities, just put somebody or make your team rotate on a weekend shifts. So after we got the lead, 5 minutes, call the new guys, make sure to follow up with them as soon as possible. So now we are coming to a call. After we have a call, usually recruiters call once, call twice, send a message, and that's it. Lead needs to be follow up in 10 places in the first 5 days. Why? Because we know that they are searching for job. We know they are in the seeking of job. The reason why they don't reply can be multiple. First of all, your number is already selected as scam likely. So that means that maybe they will not pick up because they don't know the number. If you send them a text, that's a hack. If you send them a text with personalized name of the recruiter, let's say, hi, my name is Karen from ABC company, that means that there is a likelihood for them to see number and says maybe Karen or maybe Ashley. That will allow them to have less boundaries on picking up that call. Even though they don't reply on the first call, you need to send them a couple of text messages, something like, did you give up on our offer? Are you hired? Etc. etc. You need to follow up with them 10 points in the first 5 days. So you just want to make sure that even maybe they were sleeping, maybe they were tired, maybe they were angry. So you need to make sure to be on top of that lead. After that, after the driver picks up the call, now usually what the recruiter starts to do, they start to sell. They're like, okay, we are the best company, we apply. If they say, I don't know anything about your offer, recruiter sends them an offer, then they discuss through the phone, or even worse, they send them an offer and said, I'm gonna call you in 50 minutes. That means that you lost a driver completely. That means that you're not dedicated, you send him an offer, just something that writes on a paper. Usually truck offers are not so much different one from another. So usually drivers come to recruiter, and because of the recruiter, not because of the offer. And you know that because when there is a first problem in the company, they are not calling owners, they are not calling dispatchers, they are calling the recruiters to fix their problems, because they were that first person that allowed them to introduce themselves with the company and also get that next step with joining the company that they need to do. So when the call comes, you need to make sure that you present yourself as a dedicated person whose best interest is not to sell the company, but to pre-qualify the drivers if they are the good fit for the company. So what it means, you are asking the drivers basically to join your company. Even though you have like 20 trucks on the yard, you need to say, we only have 3 trucks on the yard. It's like really busy. I'm working here with 5 recruiters if you are by yourself. So you need to sell that scarcity moment in your pitch, because on the other hand, you are just like another company. So it will not be profitable for them to join your company, because there is companies who have a waiting list, believe it or not, to join their company. Why? Because they just like put fake or real boundaries and make the scarcity moment higher and higher. The people who are inside the company, they know that if they leave, they will not be able to come back right away. And the people who came will be more satisfied, and it will have bigger threshold of understanding if they want to leave the company. So when the call happens, you need to basically pre-qualify the drivers. And the most common thing is that you have 3 questions that recruiters usually forget to ask. So they start talking to the driver, lose 35 minutes just to see that they are not qualified. The most 3 common questions in your recruiter talk supposed to start like this. Hi, my name is Ashley from ABC Company. I just want to see you apply through Facebook on our app. Can we just confirm a couple of questions so we can see if you're the right fit for our company? And then if he say yes, or how much do you pay, you just tweak it and say, you never start, hey, we paid 88%, etc., or like 65 cents. You're like, absolutely, our payment range depends of your experience and depends of your record. So can you please reply on my questions so I can see to get you a top dollar for everything that we have in our service. And then after that, of course, they'll say, okay, usual questions are, how much experience do you have? Of course, do you have CDL? Do you have any violations, SAP program? And how long are you staying on the road? If any of these questions doesn't fit your company policies, just walk away. Just say, this is not the right thing for me, this driver is not fit for me. You put him in the list of the drivers that you can follow up later, maybe for referral, or maybe he changed his mind. But as of right now, you say, unfortunately, you're not the right fit. Do you maybe know somebody who would like to drive 4 weeks on the road? Because every weekend home, we cannot make you money, and we don't want you to lose your time as well as us. So on that point, recruiters will say, okay, these guys are legit, they don't want to hustle me. Maybe in the 2-3 weeks, they have a cousin that want to stay for 3 weeks on the road. He will keep the number, and he can only keep the number by you texting him. It was nice meeting you. If you know somebody, let me know, etc., etc. So when this call happens, it's really important. It's crucial for recruiter not to be in lowercase position, throwing out the whole offer and just be on that part of the sales. You need to pre-qualify the drivers to flip other way around. So after the call and you reply on all of these questions, the 3-5 most important thing, now you say, okay, you seem like you qualify. Let's ask you about the other things. Where do you go? How do you go? Do you want to lease to purchase? And qualification about what drivers want and need for a company. The easiest way and the best question to ask is usually why you left the other company. What was the problem? Are you still employed? And with those 3-4 questions, you will know about the quality and characteristic of a driver. If he's saying, yeah, I drive for this company, and you ask him, do you want to give 2-week notice? He says, no, I don't care about them. I'll just leave the truck and come to drive for you. You know that he will do the same thing for you. So just like people are not changing, they have a repetitive behavior. So whatever it's a red flag on that call, you need to figure out so you can repel those people come to your company. So after the qualifications that we have here, qualifications, it's not only about getting the 2 years of experience and the insurance allow you to have that type of driver. Qualification is also recruiter's job to see if this guy is the right fit for the company. If it's not, just repel the guy. I don't want to say nobody will know, but you can just put in the notes, this guy seems seems like he will leave the company. He said in a previous company he did this and that, so you just like, or he wants to have a dog or a kid or whatever inside the truck, that's not our policy, and just repel them. Second thing, after the qualification, you ask them to fill out the Intelli app or whatever app you have. Just to give you a heads up, just getting a CDL and medical through SMS is usually not illegal, so that's not the legal thing. You can have a problem as a company and as a recruiting department by just asking for CDL and medical. I know it's easier, I know it makes the hiring process shorter, your safety can run it, but technically that it's not the way how it's supposed to do it. If you run them through 10th Street or any other Intelli app, you would have more information about the driver. You can put them in your database, if you in your follow-up base, and on that side you will have clear picture about that driver. So after we get the qualifications on, we're going to approval. The moment when the driver says, I fill out the Intelli app, after 5 minutes as a recruiter, this is a hack, you told him you're approved. Because usually, depends of the company, but usually dispatch and safety department have two different roles in the company. Safety department is maybe taking care of some claims, etc., and dispatcher are doing the second thing, and recruiters are just like stuck between those two. So sometimes you can wait for an answer for hour, even a day, before safety says this guy is approved or not. Maybe they need more information, etc. So the easiest way, just like to say to a driver, because they are not waiting in front of your door, to say you are approved. So you say you're approved. On that moment, drivers usually stop searching for new companies. They know they are approved. Now you arrange the drug test and everything, and you give time to a safety department to run his record. In the case you don't approve him because you already have all the information from qualification, in the case safety says, okay, he have a SAP program, he said he didn't, he have like accident and he said to you he didn't, then you call the driver and say, hey, sorry, unfortunately because of this, you are not approved. You told me that you didn't have anything on your record, but safety figured out that you have. Unfortunately, we cannot do anything for you. Thank you so much. I know they will not be mad because they know that they hide something from you. You just did a thorough research, so you show yourself as a thorough company, and basically you will unlock that driver and send him other way. That's the hack that saved me, believe me, at least 30% of the drivers when I say, okay, you are approved, let's go and schedule a drug test and everything else that comes after it. On the other side, you have basically a team who is working on it, and maybe in 30, 40, 50 minutes they will approve it. So you don't want to have that time gap of an hour when you're cooking with the driver to let them leave. So after approval, we have a drug test. Usually what happens between dispatch and recruiting, the drug test setup can be separated between the department, and then you can lose the drivers here. I lost million drivers here if I don't have safety girl or somebody who knows how to schedule a drug test inside the recruiting department. I lost hundreds of drivers because the bad communication between the safety and recruiting department, basically don't pick up, don't schedule at the time, safety don't call the driver, maybe that driver is driving so they didn't pick up the phone for him to set up the drug test when it's supposed to be done. So this is by far, if you ask me, the biggest pitfall where you can lose the driver. In my experience, maybe somebody have some other problems, but here it was like communication or miscommunication between dispatch and safety department, and that's the reason why you need to make sure that this is tightened. So from the moment driver is approved, dispatch says when you can do a drug test, even if they can do tomorrow, safety needs to be hands-on. So I suggest for you to have some person in your recruiting department that can run PSP, NVR, and as well schedule a drug test. Of course, call an Uber if needed to, but that's something that will go in the next part of the video. After the driver is good and he finished the drug test, we have travel. 99% of the trucking company are not paying the flight of owner-operators and lease-to-purchase program. They only pay for company drivers, and that's reasonable, honestly. Usually they are flying out with some carriers, so travel needs to be one extra bonus. I suggest people not to pay for travel because that travel is like 100 or 200 bucks. If somebody doesn't have a 200 bucks, in most of the scenarios that I have in my previous experience, those type of drivers are usually leaving the company, making problem, asking for ACH, etc., etc. So I would just like put that as mandatory. Come here, brother. We are in Chicago. You know where we are located. If you like what we are doing, of course, we can rebate you the tickets tickets, that's not a problem, but just like something out of the pocket, and the will and the cash needs to be done from your side as well. So after the travel, this can be also a pitfall for you not paying the ticket. So this is something that you need to explain in the orientation, that we are not paying for tickets, because you don't want to get the driver till this point and they say, okay, pay me for ticket, you say no, and then you lose the driver, you lose the time of safety, you paid for PSP, NVR, drug test, etc., etc. So make sure to explain about the travel. Of course, orientation for owner operators especially can be done online. I suggest highly to do the orientation in-house, because only in-house you can see the drivers, maybe see if they have some problems, they cannot hide anything. You can also do a road trip with them. Biggest problem about the drivers, especially less than 2 years, if you're hiring that type of drivers, they don't know how to park. Everybody can hold a steering wheel. I know I was driving for 4 years, but the parking, it's a little bit tricky, especially when you have drivers that with the big companies, they don't have a lot of experience, less than a year. So in a truck stop, when you know who am I talking about, big companies, when they're pulling up next to you, you're like, oh my God, I need to stay on my horn, just make sure that they don't hit me. So orientation needs to be inside the office. The best will be for them to go through the whole pre-trip, everything else, every time. And orientation doesn't need to take longer than 3, 4, 5 hours, because the drivers are there. The best way will be for them to jump on a truck the same day. If they came later, they can sleep in a truck, or you can get some hotel next by for them to go. But the best way will be, if you set up the driver, you can sit them in a truck, and maybe if you have an after-hour team, they can pick up a late load, something short, just to cover that day for them and for you as a company. And after that, we have hired. And what usually happens when the driver is hired, everybody's happy, truck is full, you finish the whole goal of getting through the whole process, you escaped all pitfalls, and congratulations, your driver is hired. What people are not thinking about, it's what's happening with the drivers after he is hired. You spend the majority of your money, you spend $1,000 or $2,000, depends on qualification of your company and how picky you are with the driver. The pickier the better in this case, but you spend all the money with the driver, contacting him 25, 27 times, making sure to follow up with him for 2 weeks. Then after he get hired, you just lost him. In most of the situation, recruiters are not calling him, drivers are not calling him, nobody's calling him to see how he is. So what's happening to a driver? It's the most crucial thing after you hire him, especially for the next 4 weeks. If you want to know how you can keep the driver after he's hired, what's the percentage of them staying in the company, how to increase the likelihood of them staying in the company and basically getting back the money that you invested per hire, because that money needs to be paid off through them driving a truck, and that's not the first week, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks till you recoup all expenses from one driver to another coming to your truck. You can check that in our next videos or the videos that you see below, because we have a lot of topics like this. If you like this type of video, subscribe and like, and see you soon. Bye.